Morning everybody, this is Eric with Show Ops RC. We're going to start rebuilding this shell of Big Red Monster that I picked up. So what it had was these two parts and the carb. It had a wore out liner with piston and rod. That might have been serviceable if someone has the ability to repinch, which I don't. So we're going to do a rebuild video today. Am I an expert? No. Will I get it to run okay? Yeah. It's all about having a good time while learning something, right? So without further ado, let's jump into the intro. Okay, everybody, so the bearings on this were smoked too. It did have bearings, so I've got the crank and the bearings chilling in my freezer because I really don't have the fancy expensive tool. This way will work too. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna assemble the piston and rod, and so it takes one of these clips on one side, which is why I kept it closed, because once you open it, it's easy to lose them. Just pour them on paper towel here. So, okay, get that out of our way. Get some after run oil. I'm gonna lubricate things as I go, you guys, so it's a good idea to do that. So this is the part that goes towards the crank. This does too, so it needs to go in like that. That's also where a clip goes. So let's a little bit of oil on our wrist pin here. You want this solid side going in to the outside, because there's a hole in the wrist pin on this side because it's hollow. So okay, there we go. It was just fighting me. Brand new parts here, you guys, so that's par for the course. A couple ways you can do this. There's a groove in here, and you can kind of just work it in to said groove. I'm going to pause while I do this, or this video is going to be way too long. Okay, we're back, everybody. I ended up having to use these just to get it started, and then carefully put it in with my nice Wera thin blade screwdriver. So we got that together. Next, we need to do the bearings and crank, which we will do. So let's go ahead and pause and get set up for that, and we'll go from there. Okay, everybody, we got our crank bearings. We gotta warm this up with our heat gun, which is what we're gonna do next. So here we go. Gotta get the metal to expand a little bit for the bearings. Might not be enough, but whatever. So I've had the bearings sitting on the crank in oil till I could put them in. These are a good ceramic bearing. So, and I'm going to use the crank to install them. So, here we go. I'm going to pause while we do this. Hey everybody, sorry for the delay in content, especially on doing this. So from the first series of videos to this, it'll all seem one. But this block was messed up. The board between the bearings, something's wrong where it doesn't like the crank. Like it's off by a couple thousandths and won't let the crank go in. So we were waiting on a new block, which we have. Our good ceramic bearings are installed already. Let's see if it'll show here. See how the crank won't go in all the way? My new block, even with the bearings out, it would slide right in. So that's, and now, check that out. Crank goes in like it's supposed to, spins freely. So we have our rod and liner soaking, and after run oil. You just want to make sure you have good oil going on these surfaces that are wear surfaces. So let's go ahead and get our rod piston in. So, and of course, as always, when you're doing this, just be careful. You don't want to scar anything. That could be a wear surface. So, you don't want to have excess wear from the get-go. So, okay, so we got our rod and piston in. And off camera, I did make sure our liner fits the way it's supposed to. So the hard part here is just getting the well, that proves why this part's hard. Getting the liner and piston to line up correctly. So now we need to get that off of top dead center. Oh, come on. Okay, I gotta pause and fix this, guys. Hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Being a new liner and being a Dynamite /SH, they come from the factory with a really tight pinch. If I remember right, Nova Rossi, which is no longer business, might be a little tighter. I couldn't tell you. I've never owned one of those or rebuilt one. But so we have our piston liner in. This is our head button and our head shim. Let's go ahead and get that guy on. Make sure it's clean real quick, especially since this is going to be a new motor basically when we're done with it. You want to keep things as clean as possible. There's our Dynamite Big Red head. So there's those. I'm going to do that off camera, but I have some new ones right there. So we'll be back. Okay, we got our head bolts in. I'm going to do the back plate. Well, first though, we need our one-way bearing and starter shaft, which I just had. Oh, there it is, right there. Let me just dip in some afterrun oil real quick. And I will tell you that pre-soaking all this stuff like I have, there's bits of metal with all these components that I didn't know were present. So you don't have to soak them like I am. It's just a good practice with new components, whether rebuilding an engine or a brand new engine, to take apart and make sure it's clean. So okay, there we go. We got lined up. I'm going to do the back plate screws off camera. Be back shortly. Okay, everybody, we're back. Got the back plate on. You probably in this light, it's hard to see. You want to make sure our piston and the bomb dead center so we don't get it stuck. The only other thing we're going to do on this video is put our carb in. I'm going to dip the part that goes into the block in oil because there's 2 gaskets on it. And I want to make sure that they seat properly / seal. And all the rigs I have, the motor is on the right side of the rig. I gotta loosen this. It's kind of like a dual pinch bolt in here. So I gotta straighten it. I'll be back. So there's a flat surface on these, and what had happened, one had rotated, and that's why it wouldn't let me put the carburetor in, you guys. Because the bolt is loose. And the joys of working on mechanical items, I may need to... Everything has to fight you. So I'll get the carburetor in off screen because this bolt is fighting me. Okay, everybody, we got it in. So now we need to just put the bolt in that clamps those 2 pieces together and tighten it down. It's actually kind of a cool setup. So we got the carb installed, we got the back plate on, we got our starter system set up. For whatever reason, it could be I have the wrong bolts. I can't get the head bolts tightened. So we got to get those. This motor, once I have everything else I need, so she'll run, will go in my HPI Savage 25, which has a fairly recent break-in Dynamite 28 on it. And that Dynamite 28 will go on a different rig of mine. This is going to have more power than a standard Big Red. It has the liner from the SH28 Pro, which is at 8 ports versus a 6 or 7. I can't remember because the Big Red has less ports. So she'll breathe a little bit better. But this is Eric with Shell Ops RC. Thanks for coming by. And thanks for taking time out of your day to watch us. Have a great day. Peace.